The week just before Christmas was about $5,500 for revenue that week. That was a really, really good week. That was a huge week. I ended up having to get one of my mates to come give me a hand on the last day. So I'm Mark Donovan. My territory's Frankston South. I've been doing it for about 2 months-ish, just shy of 2 months now. Very much enjoying it. Prior to Jim's Mowing, I did 2 years as a pre-delivery technician. So I was installing like accessories, things like that to new, first it was access equipment, then I worked for Kubota. Loved the job. Now, especially working for Kubota, that was great. They're a great mob to work for. But unfortunately the work just ran out. So I was out of work and just looking for something. But because I got my kids 50-50 custody, I was looking for something that was flexible with when I had the kids and stuff like that. And I'd looked into this in the past, and then it sort of just came to me one night. I was like, oh, why don't I should look into that gym thing again? And, yeah, just kind of went from there pretty much. And so the first time I looked into it, I had watched a heap of videos, actually quite a few with Dan himself. Just watched a heap of videos. I can't remember who I spoke to at the time, but they sort of put me on a heap of videos and stuff I could watch on YouTube. So I think I sat and watched like just about like as many, like I think I watched nearly half the training program in videos, I think, by the time I was sort of fairly confident, and it was only sort of more personal home stuff is the reason I didn't actually sort of end up doing it the first time. There was other people who weren't wishing for me to do it at the time. And then sort of this time, sort of everything just lined up, and yeah. I thought it was more weird just sitting in the room. I was watching all the training done in before. But yeah, no, it was all right. It was good. It was good. The training's really good. So, definitely things like, like your presentation, things like the quoting and scheduling, things like that. I already kind of had an idea of a lot of this stuff because I'd run a business before. Not my own business, but I'd run a garden supply center, in the past. Yeah, so I kind of knew a lot of it, but it was good just knowing stuff more in reference to what I was going to be doing, things like that. Yeah, no, I thought the training was very, very good. It's sort of hard for me to pinpoint because of the way sort of my memory works in terms of absorbing the information. I can't really access it, but it's all there, so I remember a lot of this stuff, but it was great information. It was great information. Mainly just a lot of mowing, and I do a lot of clearing, like property clearing, like that wine cooler or the wine thing over there in the fridge was all from a job I pulled out. We were clearing out a house in Mount Martha, and the guy's like, I just need it all gone. Anything you want, you can take, whatever. So we loaded up 18 meters of gym skip bins, and I took a whole 2 trailers worth back. I brought 2 trailers worth back home to sell off myself. So yeah, no, it was great. I've been enjoying it. Been doing just a lot of cleanups, and whether it be like lawns, and the one I did this morning was just sort of lawns and stuff, but it was, like this high, so a lot of big cleanups and stuff like that mainly. And yeah, I've got a few regulars, at least 8 or 9 regulars now. Yep. I think I've got maybe a couple more, but yeah, about 8 or 9 regulars. And then just sort of doing the cleanups. I like doing the bigger jobs. I quite like doing the bigger jobs, so it doesn't really faze me when I get them. I've got one quote out right now for turning 3 acres of what was farmer's market garden back into lawn, and that's been a real challenge to try and sort out, because you don't actually realize that nobody in Victoria rents agricultural equipment to average people. You just cannot get it. So it's been quite a challenge to actually get to a point where we've come up with a quote that we're both happy with, and it's been good. You know what, it's actually really funny. I thought I was going to struggle a lot with that, but my partner, who is just an absolute godsend, has got me onto all like these multivitamins and stuff, and I never took any of this stuff in the past, it was just never me. But she's got me onto like these magnesium tablets of the night time. I tell you what, they make a world of a difference. I used to get up, doing just what I've always done. You wake up in the morning after a hard day's work, next morning you're sore, you're aching. These magnesium tablets, I tell you what, they're a game changer. It's great. Like I take and I wake up feeling great. But no, it's holding up quite well actually. I thought, again, I'm not young anymore. I'm 37 in April now, so I'm not young. So I wasn't sure how I would get back into something quite this physical, especially compared to what I was doing, like working in the pre-delivery stuff. It's you're busy, but you're not really. I always said we never worked hard. You're never doing big heavy lifts or moving stuff around or pushing heavy stuff, or just not really doing it. You're working a lot, but it's not hard. hard work. So yeah, I wasn't sure how it'd go, but no, it seems to be going well. Yeah, so far, yeah. Since probably the second week before Christmas, it's all been pretty steady and hopefully on the up and up and keeps going that way. That was definitely a weird situation because again, as I said, even though I've done it before, it wasn't my own business that I ran. I ran a garden, I ran Bunyip Garden Gear, but obviously I didn't own it. You know, you still got a boss to report to, you know, so it was kind of sort of weird, you get up and you go, you know, oh, I'm in charge, you know. It's kind of a weird sort of mindset to get yourself into, but yeah, no, it's good. Oh, the support's great. That ride on there is another one. There's actually another franchisee's ride on. He's lent it to me for a few weeks to give it a go and whatever else. But yeah, there's always franchisees to give you, a hand. You can call your franchisor. Thankfully, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty self-sufficient. I generally don't need a lot of assistance. I generally know my way around sort of this sort of stuff pretty well. So again, I spent half my working career working in garden supply centres, so I sort of know this industry fairly well. Oh, well, I always make sure I just, go that little bit extra if you need to, like you see, when you're sort of doing places, like this morning's job, I didn't have to, they didn't want any of their main garden sort of stuff done, but the actual garden bed itself was pretty neat, but there was all these weeds sort of coming up the side, so I sort of just snipped a lot of those as I went down the side of the house and then just sprayed it for them because I was spraying a section in their backyard anyway. So I just snipped it and sprayed it all for them. I was walking down there anyway, so I just figured I'd sort it, and yeah, they were wrapped. They thought it was great. So just doing those little extra bits and pieces, it doesn't take long. If you see a couple of weeds here and there, if it's a pretty well-maintained sort of property. I've got one that I've been doing in Mornington that's really nice, well-maintained property, and I just go in there for a quick mow. It takes me 35 minutes, I think, to do the whole lot. And I just pull out a few weeds and stuff here and there if I see them. It's just, it takes you 30 seconds to run around and pull out a handful of weeds. He always looks after his garden anyway, so you just pull out those extra few weeds and it looks immaculate when you send him the photos saying it's done, Yeah. Just that little bit of extra mile, I think, goes a long way. Not bad. So the week just before Christmas was about $5,500 for revenue that week. That was a really, really good week. It was a huge week though. I ended up having to get one of my mates to come give me a hand on the last day because I was trying to cram everything I could in before Christmas because I had everybody wanting it. And the main one that really wanted to get done was one for a real estate agent. It was a big one, and yeah, they wanted it done before Christmas, and yeah, but it pushed me well over the $5,500 mark for that week. It was great. And then yeah, the other weeks, I've got a couple of weeks coming up where I've got about $3,500 booked in so far. They may increase a little bit, but yeah, no, it's been pretty good. So I think it's actually impressed me. I wasn't sure what the sort of turnover would be sort of on my own. I figured once you sort of get up, the turnover start to get sort of all right. But so far I've been very impressed with sort of the work availability and the turnover. So hopefully it keeps going, and yeah, we keep making things look good. The fees aren't too bad. Obviously that's a little bit initially, but once you get to the point where you can turn your leads off, that's going to drop right down anyway. So the franchise fees, I think, again, I'd have to look at it, double check on the invoice they send me, but I think it's about sort of 800-ish, something like that. And then the lead fees are about, I think they're $15 each. I think that's from memory. And yeah, I've taken a lot of leads in the last month. I took a lot of leads. Pretty good. The leads, most of them are good leads. Like they wouldn't, the hardest part, I suppose, with some of them are, you pick up very quickly which ones just aren't going to be that interested. You can pick that up pretty quickly. You do your best to try and sort of pull the price down a little bit or whatever, but the ones that pretty quickly are going to just be like, if it's not $40 to mow the front and back of their house, they're not interested, so you understand. But no, most of the leads are pretty good. All the ones I've gotten have been solid. I think the only one I would have officially said was a dud lead was there was one I had that was, I won't get into it, but it was a very, very, it was a sketchy situation. But anyway, that was the only one, real bad one I had, and nothing bad happened. It was just the woman was, and she just started going off as I got there, and it was like, well, I'm out of here. I'm gone. I'm done. We're out. So, but yeah, no, it's been good. Leads are good. So no, it all works well. So. Oh yeah, no, I've got some short and more long-term sort of plans, absolutely. So in the more shorter term, I'd like to get to a point where my best mate, he's done this sort of work before. He's incredibly good at it, like to the point where at one stage he used to mow my lawns. So he's really good at it. So I would like to get to a stage where I can get him in. We just work really well together. It'd be just he'd be a really good asset to the company. And then get to a point where I could maybe have, you know, a couple of groups, a couple of guys getting around doing some routes and stuff. And ultimately I'd like to get to a point where, you know, I'm sort of taking a little bit of a step back off the tools ideally, and just get to a point where maybe I'm working 4 days a week doing mainly quoting, maybe helping out here and there with the, you know, on the bigger jobs with the boys and whatever else. But yeah, ultimately that's where I'd like to get to in the meantime. And that's sort of my near and longer term goals, and anything past that we'll just, you know, take it as it comes. So yeah.